Some people have a natural eloquence and the ability to articulate subject matter in a way that makes everyone want to listen and follow, regardless of how much they actually know about the subject itself. But then you have on the other side those who shudder at the thought of speaking up in a meeting, let alone commanding a room. And if you fall into the latter category, you're not alone. And more than that, you're not stuck there. The reality is that leadership presence is not a static trait that you're born with. It's a skill that you can develop, refine, and master over time. There are many highly capable professionals just like you who are not afraid of leadership itself, but really you're more uncomfortable with the visibility that comes with leadership and the presence that's necessary to make an impact and influence others. But every time you shrink back from opportunities to practice leadership presence, discomfort might not be the only thing that you miss. You may be unintentionally limiting the very opportunities that you're hoping to earn. So, today we're going to talk about leadership presence, and specifically, we're going to explore how to cultivate that elusive quality of command and how you can project confidence even when you don't feel it. Welcome to Crossroads and Catalysts. I'm your host, Shanita B. This is where we explore how a thoughtful, wise, and strategic perspective at life's crossroads can become the catalyst for meaningful change in your leadership and the direction of your life. So, for the last few weeks, we've been discussing confidence and visibility. And if you missed any of those episodes, you will definitely want to check those out. So, I'm going to leave a link for you in the notes. But visibility is important. But if you don't have leadership presence, then you're really just another body in the room. And that's not what you want to be. So today we're going to move beyond the internal experience of confidence and we're going to step into the external demonstration of leadership. Because it's really one thing to feel capable in your own mind, but it's another thing entirely to embody the capability in a way that influences, guides, and empowers those around you. So by the time we're finished, you're going to understand what leadership presence is, why it matters, and how it can strengthen you. You'll also discover how the way your leadership language, and by that, what I mean is the way that you speak, listen, show up, how those things really shape the way that others experience your leadership. Because don't get it twisted, others are experiencing your leadership, and it's either to your good or to your disadvantage. So by the end of this, you're also going to leave with at least one action that you can use in your very next meeting or conversation. All right. And I want you to remember to check out the details for our upcoming Act First Confidence Follows Masterclass. And this is where we're going to really get into some of the details about these concepts because I want to help you to move beyond just the feeling of confidence. I want you to start leading from the evidence. And if you don't make the decision to change how you approach visibility and confidence, you're going to continue to repeat these same habits and behaviors that got you stuck in the first place. So it's going to be happening July 29th. So be sure to check out the link in the show notes. And while you're there, do not miss the chance to download the What's Next Crossroads Guide to Clarity and Confident Decisions. If you're not already working with a mentor or a coach, I think that this is the next best thing because it's going to give you some guided prompts to help you to think through your specific situation. Okay. So, what is the crossroads here that we're talking about? You might be struggling with the feeling that your voice is not carrying the weight that you want it to. Or maybe you're finding that despite your technical expertise, your influence in the room feels curiously absent and you're not even being given the time of day. And let me make sure that you are clear. Your technical expertise might have gotten you there, but it's not going to sustain you because you are no longer going to be relying upon that technical expertise. Okay. You're going to have to bring more. And this is part of the reason why we're having this conversation today. Okay. Because you recognize that you're doing the work, but you're not really getting the results that you want. And by that, I mean, you're not getting the buy-in. Right. You maybe don't have the team alignment that you were hoping for. None of these things are really lining up for you. So then you're stuck in this loop of either over preparing or under delivering on your own potential. And we want to break that. So let's get clear on what leadership presence is. It is an experience. Okay. And you don't necessarily get to be the one to decide that you have it. Other people will experience that and they will show you by how they respond to you whether or not they think that you have leadership presence. And yes, I get it. Some of that is going to come along with the title, but you want people to see you as more than just a title. Okay. And so I think part of this is that people are asking themselves questions about your leadership. And what kind of questions? They're asking them the same kind of questions that you ask yourself when you meet with a new leader, when you're introduced to a leader in a setting. The same types of questions. And those kind of questions are, well, who are you really? Can I trust you? Will you bring clarity? Do you know what you're doing? And will you keep us moving forward? And these are just a few questions. And I think that you have an idea as to what these questions are, because again, I think we all experience this because we're trying to assess, well, who is this person? So put yourself in those same shoes, because again, you do the same, you do it too. So I think that leadership presence is definitely comprised of several things, and we're only going to focus on a handful today. Number one is attention. And the most valuable thing that you can give someone, it has nothing to do necessarily with your advice. It's your attention. So a leader who is able to make people feel heard and support them, that is the leader who is fully present. Okay. So the thing that is going to contribute to that is, are you being an active listener? Are you asking thoughtful questions? Are you understanding what's going on? Are you listening to understand rather than to simply respond? Because responding is innately what we do. We want to address things as we hear them. It is sometimes very challenging to sit back and allow someone to communicate or convey a message and we not be able to just break in. So you want to make sure that you are being attentive to the person who is talking to you. You don't want to just be physically present. You want to be mentally present. Okay. Because people will forget the exact words that you say to them, but they will definitely remember how you made them feel after talking to you. Okay. And so then another thing that I think contributes to our leadership presence is leadership language. Your words communicate far more than information. They communicate ownership. And so instead of just saying, I think, or I just wanted to, or maybe, or sorry, and I still find that I do that too. It's a hard habit to break. What you want to consider doing or using rather are words like, I recommend, or here's what I'm seeing based on the data, or the risk that I see based on the information that has been provided is. Think in ways, think about ways that you can present this information in more concrete, absolute terms, not in ways that make it appear as if you are shrinking back because you might be uncertain about what it is that you're saying. And there's a way, even if you are uncertain, there's a way for you to deliver that message without appearing soft in your language. Okay. You want to communicate with greater clarity and ownership. And when you make a recommendation, you are stating, I am owning the information that I am saying to you, the data that I'm providing to you. I own this. And that's a good thing. And so another thing that contributes to leadership presence is space, silence, and stillness. And I heard someone speak about this recently, and I thought the way that they spoke about it was very eloquent, number one, but I thought that it was very helpful and useful because think about it. When you accept the space that leadership requires, you're not shrinking back. And so remember, I mentioned that your language indicates one way or the other, whether you're standing on business or whether you're shrinking back. And so when you fill in the space, then you're not shrinking back. And that's what you want. You don't want to shrink yourself. You don't want to reduce yourself in that space. That is your role. Take it and run with it. And so then the other part of that is silence. People are uncomfortable with silence. And I tend to think that silence is a good thing. And when you have the opportunity to sit in silence, you do not have to feel rushed to fill it with words, with a bunch of empty words. Leaders do not rush to fill in the silence. They pause, they think, they take their time, they consider. Silence can communicate confidence depending on how you handle it. And so it is okay if there are not words being spoken for small periods of time. Take it and own that too. And then the other thing about that stillness, can you remain composed under pressure? Because people are going to follow your lead depending on how you respond to whatever might be going on. And it's okay. Stillness, silence, these things, fill in that space, these things, they go together. And you just want to remember to keep a good head about yourself, to allow that silence to not move you and make you feel awkward and weird, and to fill that space so that you do not shrink back because you are a leader. All right. And so then another thing that contributes to leadership presence is speaking to lead. And by that, I mean, you have to make the transition from being an individual contributor to being a leader. Okay. The individual contributor is thinking about things like, what should I say in the meeting? And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but what I am saying is that a leader is trying to change how they view what they should say. You're trying to understand, what does this conversation need? You don't want to just speak for the sake of speaking. If everybody has already beat the issue and has put out there all of the great ideas that are necessary, well, then there's no need for you to throw in the same type of information. Your job will be to understand what is actually necessary right now. Maybe you need more information. Maybe a decision needs to be made. Maybe you're just there to listen and understand the temperature of the room. Okay. You are not going to be measured by how much you speak. Okay. You are going to be measured by what happens because you spoke. Because really what you're doing is you're going to be conveying a message, and how people respond to that message is going to be very telling of your leadership. And, when you think about these in their totality, again, these are just a few of the things that can lend support to your leadership presence. Confidence might be a part of that, yes. But I can remember, over the years, people have told me how they perceived me as confident, but confidence is not enough, and nor is it a substitute for leadership presence. And so it reminds me too of the fact that I had a colleague who told me years ago that I was too quiet. And this didn't have anything to do really with my qualifications or my competence. But what she was trying to convey to me was that she wanted to experience my leadership. She wanted to understand my thoughts, my expertise, and my feedback. And she wanted to do that in a way that she and the others in some of the meetings that we participated in together would have the opportunity to glean something from what I had to offer, or maybe their minds would be changed slightly by what I stated. Whatever it was, what was being conveyed to me was that my voice mattered. And your people don't know that you have a voice until you say something. They don't know that what you have to say is going to be meaningful until you share it. And for you to be a leader, you have to show up as a leader. I was being encouraged in those moments to use my voice and to use my leadership title so that I could present and be present as a leader. All right. And so these are the kind of things that we're going to discuss in the Act First, Confidence Follows Masterclass, because I think a lot of us feel hesitant, and that's what stops us from contributing our skills and our expertise. And these are some of the things that we're going to discuss in the Act First, Confidence Follows Masterclass, because that hesitation that you feel, it really does stop you from contributing your skills and your expertise, and it limits the presence that you should be bringing into your conversations, into your meetings and interactions at work, and what it is that you can contribute. If you're an aspiring leader or if you're already a leader, people need to experience what you have to bring. And the fact that you are listening right now indicates that you have a commitment to being a solid leader. You want to bring your best. And this is part of what is going to help you to do that. So be sure to check out the link in the show notes. So you definitely have a choice because there is always a choice. You can leave this episode thinking that what I said, those were some helpful things that I mentioned, and they make a lot of sense. Or you can intentionally change how you show up in your very next meeting or engagement. All right. Here's one thing that you can do this week. Before your next meeting, write down one sentence that begins with I recommend. And of course, you have to understand the context, but generally we're having meetings because we're trying to solve problems or figure out what it is that we need to do next in order to bring about a resolution to a problem. So come prepared, not with the typical I think, or maybe we should do this, or I'm just not sure. Approach it with language that says that I own this, and then leave it there. And what I want you to do in the aftermath of that, I want you to consider, how did that make you feel? And what do you think that did to the conversation? Okay. You have to pour into yourself and you have to trust that what you bring is going to be valuable. Okay. And then recognize that your leadership presence is not built through grand gestures. This is going to be something that you do in small moments repeated over time. Okay? That's what it comes down to. Every conversation shapes someone's perception of your leadership. And if you don't intentionally develop it, someone else will. And that someone else, they may likely have less experience than you, less technical expertise, and maybe even fewer accomplishments. But the point is that they're taking it seriously and they're showing up to be considered a leader, to be seen as a leader. They're contributing as a leader. And so they might get the shot. I don't want you to miss out. Okay? I don't want you to miss an opportunity to be influential, to be impactful in the way that you desire to be. All right? Leadership presence is not something that you wait to develop after someone gives you the title. This is something that you can practice right now. All right. So when the opportunity comes, people will already see you as someone who can lead. So the final challenge that I have for you is before you get to that next meeting, again, it's not just what am I going to say? Ask yourself, what do I want people to experience because I was there? Okay? Because your next move matters. And the choice that you make today may become the very catalyst that changes the trajectory of your career. And that's what you're going for. All right. So I'm glad that we made it to the end of this episode. I think we talked about some good stuff. And if you have a story where you had a difficult time getting people to listen to you, I want to hear about it. So be sure to either send me an email or go to my website and leave a voice note. And you can do that at crossroadsandcatalysts.com. I will leave all of that information in the show notes. And just know that the experiences that you share with me are inspiration that I use for future episodes. So show me your support in that manner, and I'd be really appreciative. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to discuss this, and thank you for listening. And until next time, be thoughtful, be wise, be strategic, and remember, crossroads reveal who you are. Catalysts shape who you become. Every decision matters, so make it count. I'll talk to you next week.